desire for partnership stops overriding your desire for genuine respect and genuine love, then you will start to see things so differently. And it is going to change you. You're going to make decisions that you probably would not have made before. And you're going to be a lot less willing to accept and settle for just anything.
So part of the decentering men experience is really mourning the loss of the fantasy that we were sold. And so if you date men, like it almost seems like it doesn't even matter what generation you come from. Because whether it was the crap I grew up with, Little Mermaid, like all the Disney crap, right? We did not have Frozen. We did not have heroes like sister heroes, right? We did not have heroes in general as children that were like decentering men, or at least given their own hero's journey that didn't involve loving a man, and usually like a man that sucks too, like Cinderella. I'm sorry, but what do you see in that dude other than money and a way to escape a terrible stepmother? Like, I mean, even the princes. I mean, Eric, what does he do? Nothing. He's rich. Like, even the princes that all these heroines, all these princes felt like they suck. Don't even get me started on Beauty and the Beast. I got 10 videos I want to make about that one movie and how much it completely messed us up and set us up to date violent men. Anywho, oh, by the way, go watch that video. It's great. Now, fortunately, as I've talked about a lot on here, I decentered men. Like not I didn't even know I was doing it, but I just knew that they tend to ruin women's lives, that I had yet to meet a woman whose life was better as a result of a man, and including my own, like best thing my dad ever did was leave us. And having grown up with a single mom who centered her children and herself and her female friends who were also single moms, that's what I learned. And so when I like tried to date men in high school, I was like, whoa, 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 this sucks. So I just tapped out all my 20s, with the exception of a couple of experiences, a couple like hate forks and one night stands and like a little experimentation with dating, but not really. Most of my 20s was man free. Like, and then like half my 30s, 12 of my adult years, totally celibate, but not consecutive. And so I'm really good at decentering men. I learned firsthand, without even realizing that this was what I was doing, is how fulfilling a life without men and the promise of a man, or the fantasy of a man, or future with a man who doesn't suck, what a life looked like when that was not at the center of it. Whereas most women, and I used to think there's something wrong with me, but most women who are attracted to men, like that was their, like they had that's their thing, right? Because they had hope. I never had hope. And, hope is like the center of my message. I mean, it doesn't sound like it always, because I talk about some disturbing stuff on this platform. But I usually try to include some sort of hope, or at least videos every once in a while that have hope. But I had no hope in men. That's why I didn't mess around with it. And so my journey in terms of learning how to maybe try to date with a decentered men mentality didn't even start until 36. Like, start in terms of like my first real relationship, which wasn't a real relationship because the dude was a sociopath who tried to unalive me. Like, that was my first like real relationship. Ugh. Then I tapped back out, and then I entered the dating world for real at like, I don't know, 38 or something. And what's interesting is, even though I had all those years of experience, firsthand experience of how amazing my life is when I'm not centering men, I still had it deep in me to default to like future planning with some douche I just met. I remember when I moved to LA, I was pretty sure I wasn't going to stay there forever. And yet I was dating, mostly just like having like hookups and like coming into my schmexual power. But I did go on dates occasionally with men who I might want to date. And I did not sleep with those men because I didn't trust myself, because I'm easily acclimatized. I take it slow with men I actually see a future with. I only have one night stands with dudes that I don't care about, because I have too many trauma responses that are going to get me hooked on a terrible man, like the one who almost unalived me. So when I did occasionally meet like boyfriend worthy men, the way my mind would do like these mental gymnastics, centering them. Like, I met this one dude. He was really cool. progressive, like outdoorsy, but also city guy. He's an artist. Like our conversations were really great. I really enjoyed going on dates with him. And I caught myself being like, well, I guess I could stay in LA. Like I had never planned on like staying in LA. But I caught myself being like, yeah, I could make it because I was centering him. And luckily I caught myself because like that video before said, this dude was like cool. He wasn't reaching out to me. He wasn't making plans with me. He clearly was just like, thought I was cool. But I've learned a lot of men think I'm cool. Like I was a I was a cool girl. Like that's literally what every man on there. You're so cool. And then I worked with mostly men in the outdoor industry, and I'm a tomboy. I can hang with the bros very easily. And anytime a man thought said I was cool, major red flag because they see me as like a buddy or a bro, and not someone that they actually like see as a partner. And I realized, like, even with this dude that doesn't really contact me enough, clearly there's something standing in his way. I'm already doing backflips over this but fantasy. And it scared me because if I learned anything from an abusive relationship, it is that if a man doesn't think I am just amazing, not in a love bomby way, genuinely sees that I'm like a precious pearl and there's only one of me. And if you don't think I'm as amazing as I have worked so hard to try to think, because I had very low self-esteem, was very self-destructive. I have hated myself my whole life and worked so hard to not hate myself. And I finally like myself. I don't want any man threatening this very fragile confidence that I've gotten because I've worked so hard on loving myself. And yet here I was already like making plans to like maybe stay in LA forever for this dude who doesn't even like me. And that's when I was doing it, wanting a partner. Because I admitted to myself in this time, despite being like so proud to be the single woman, I was known as the single woman in the comedy world, in all my storytelling. Like, like that's my thing. I show up at a million weddings with no plus one ever. I'd never taken a plus one to a wedding ever. Like I am like the single woman. For me to admit to myself that maybe I would actually like a partnership was very hard. And then as soon as I like started trying to like open my life up to that, boom, patriarchal condition, still some, codependence tendencies and, trauma responses, whatever, was like, well, whatever. And I start making excuses for him. And finally I was like, you know what? I'm done with this dude. And the last time he texted me, I was like, hey, I'm surprised to hear from you. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah. I was like, look, no offense, dude, but you clearly don't like me enough to date me. We get along, that's great, but like you don't ever reach out. So you're not excited about hanging out with me. And that says everything I need to know. So I wish you well. You're really cool, dude. It's fine that we are not like, but I'm not gonna be responding to you anymore. And he was like, you know what? You're right. You're totally right. I have not been making the effort. And thank you for calling that out. Like 8 months later, he was living with a girl. Like this dude. It's not fear of commitment. I just wasn't the one. And yet I was already planning my life around staying in a city I didn't want to be for somebody who didn't even like me. That scared the crap out of me, y'all. After that, I was like, yeah, I don't want to stay here. I'm not going to pursue dating. I don't want any man trapping me here. I've already avoided being baby trapped by that psycho and dog trapped by him. So I continued on the goals that I had, which was moving abroad, which is what I did. And I love my life so much. And I'm so glad that not only did I step away from this thing that was clearly not my standard, but to also decide I am not even going to let men into my life so that they can hijack it. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm focusing on this. This is what I want. And then, I moved to Spain and then eventually moved to France. And I had some of the best schmegs of my life. I've written about it for a lot of, Daily Beast and a lot of glamour and all that stuff. Then after all that, somehow I did end up getting married and finding an amazing man. But I still don't center him. Patriarchy wants me to, and boy, does it try. But the only reason I feel like I can trust myself and I'm okay with marriage is because I've worked so hard, so hard at not only decentering men, but decentering the fantasies around men and focused entirely on what I truly want. And then if a man happened to come into that, maybe I'll let him join me.